There is no prayer, there is no miracle, there is no magic potion. The only thing that's going to fix it Charmaine and I are back with another episode of the series, Is It Love or? And today, hi Charmaine.
Hi, Francesca. So good to see you again.
It's been a while. I was going to get right into it. I'm so excited about talking about these topics that I just want to jump right in. And I was forgetting to introduce you and make sure everybody knows that you are here as well, at least for our audio audience. So Charmaine and I, before we started recording, we were discussing what are we going to talk about today. And the first thing that came to our mind was hoovering. What is it? And what you need to know about it, and what you need to know about how to handle that if you find yourself in that situation. So Charmaine, I'm just gonna let you start today, because usually I just go on and on and on. So
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, let's just have you start this episode. And okay, what do you want to share about hoovering?
So the term hoovering actually came from the company Hoover, and it basically is exactly what it says, Hoover.
Like the
So
vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner for whoever's listening that doesn't know the company. Hoover is a vacuum cleaner company. Yeah.
okay, so what does a vacuum do? A vacuum cleaner sucks in everything around, and that's exactly what hoovering is, where your abuser sucks you in without you actually realizing what's happening.
Typically, hoovering happens not at the initial stage of a relationship, but when there is a breakup, or when there is that tendency, when the abusive partner realizes that you are distancing yourself. So what is the difference between hoovering and love bombing? Now, we did do an episode on love bombing, which is when you get showered with attention, compliments, gifts, and you feel like you're the most special person in the world. That typically happens. The love bombing is at the initial stage, and that is the way to get you into the relationship. The hoovering part happens later, as I said earlier. If there is a breakup, if you're the one breaking up with the abuser, if you're distancing yourself, then the abuser is trying to pull you back in, just like Charmaine explained. And what they'll do is they'll use the love. One of the ways is they will use the love bombing. They'll bring that back into it to get you to feel again as you did before, and get sucked back into the relationship. But the thing about hoovering, it is part of the cycle of abuse. So when we look at abusive relationships, one of the main reasons people stay in those relationships is because it's not always bad. Some people say, oh, well, why don't you leave? Well, because it's not always bad. That person's not always bad. That person has the good sides. And there is this honeymoon stage, then there's a buildup, and then there is the explosion, and then this sort of like the abuse happening. And then when the one person starts distancing, the hoovering happens, and then you go back into that love bombing, the honeymoon stage, and it just keeps repeating over and over and over. So do you have any personal experience, or from what you've learned in regards to hoovering, anything you want to share about how to handle that when that happens?
I have not really experienced the hoovering part exactly, because there was only that push and pull that we had spoken about. So there were days when there would be affection, and then there were days where everything would be blocked, or weeks, sometimes months, where everything would be blocked. So we never really separated and then got back together. It was just, so I have not directly experienced the hoovering part, but I know about it because I've read extensively, and I know people who have experienced it, and I don't think it's pleasant. Like everything else, it's just very psychologically damaging. So it's again something you'll need to watch out for, because when the breakup and the patching up is what do you call it, is a frequent thing, then that means your abuser has taken for granted that he's got you exactly where he wants, and he can get you at any time, or she, not just he, they, I would say they could get you at any time. And that's a really huge red flag, when someone just keeps breaking up and patching up, and so they'll just break up, do their own thing, and come back when they're fed up of that, and then it's just like a back and forth, and that's not really how anyone should accept to live.
Yeah, and that's such a good point that you bring, because I was just focusing on the side of, I was thinking of it from the side of when the victim leaves, then the abuser will try to pull and hoover back the person. But you are so right. There's also the other side where some abusers are the ones who discard you, but then when they decide to, they try to suck you back in. So there, it comes from both ways. It's not just when they're being left, it's also them leaving you and then just thinking that they have that power and control over sucking you back in at any time they want at a whim. So it is a power trip. It is a power thing. It is a control thing.
It's always about it. It's always a power thing. Like everything they do, it's when you allow them to do it multiple times, then they know they can get away with it.
Mhm.
So let them do it first time, the second time, even the third time, and then you need to stop. You need to stop accepting behavior, because then it just proves to them that you don't respect yourself, and you just become their doormat. They just walk over you as and when they please, and that's really horrible. It's a horrible feeling when someone
Yeah.
actually thinks that they can just do as they please, and you'll accept it, which is even worse.
I know one person who had brought the, she was not engaged. She was with someone, but they broke up early in the year. I think it was around January, February. And then there was no contact all the way till the end of the year. And then at Christmas, he calls her and says, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like as if they had been together the whole year. And then he proceeds to tell her that his mother was planning the wedding. Yeah. So that his mother had been planning the wedding for the whole year. So he never bothered to tell, either he never bothered to tell his mother, or he was making it up as part of hoovering part. She was smart enough to say thanks, but no thanks. But yeah, so the hoovering comes in so many different ways.
Exactly.
What's that?
I said, yeah, it does. It just,
Yeah, they can ghost you completely, and then out of the blue, they're like, "Hey, like your best buddy, like, hey," it's like, I don't think so. So, and the showering with gifts is another way, right? Sometimes I know that happened with when I left one of my marriages, that one of them tried to hoover me back in by buying me gifts, and didn't fly, right? That it's like, no, you can't buy. People cannot buy you. That's the thing. People, listen up, okay? If you're in that position where you're in a relationship and your abusive partner is trying to hoover you back in and showering you with gifts, attention, whatever, it's just a tactic. It will go back. It's just a way to get you back in. It's not going to get any better. Statistics, evidence, facts show this over and over and over and over. There is no prayer. There is no miracle. There is no magic potion. The only thing that's going to fix it is you leaving an abusive relationship, an abusive person. If the person tells you that is going to counseling and that they're making themselves better, they're going to quit their whatever drug problem or they're cheating or whatever it is, say, great, good for you. I am proud of you for doing this for yourself, but we are over. I wish you the best. We're done. It doesn't matter. If you want to get better, that's good on you, but we are done. Make it done. Do not fall for that trap, because it is a trap. Even if in that moment they mean it, they won't stick to it. 100%. This is recorded. This is documented. And I will never stop saying that. An abuser is always an abuser. If they change, good for them. Let them live their life. Rebuild your life. You cannot heal with being around the person that's hurt you so much. You just can't. Yeah. You got really quiet there, Charmaine. I was expecting you to say something.
I thought you were going to cut me. Yes, I completely agree with that. Don't let anyone think that hurting you is acceptable. Don't make it acceptable. Give them a fair chance. Maybe they will improve the second time, but don't get your hopes up. As Francesca said, once an abuser, always an abuser, and do yourself a favor and walk away. That's the best thing you can do. And know your self-worth, because you're broken down so much that you tend to forget that you are worth it. And you need to believe that. And it's something you will realize once you stop accepting the whole hoovering thing. Coming back, like as if you're an open door, walk in, walk out. I mean, you do that in railway stations, you walk in and out. Do that in airports, walk in and out. But you don't do that with someone's life. So value your life. You have one life, and I would say live it by filling it up with things that make you happy. That's really important. Self-respect.
And there's one thing that I've heard or have had clients ask me, or now they talk about and they bring up but you marry for better or for worse. Well, for better or for worse does not include abuse. So I just want to I want to kind of let's put a spotlight on that, because for better for worse, it means in tough times, as in maybe economical times, or maybe somebody's sick. Those are not reasons to leave your partner. But for better for worse, and to love the other person, the moment one person in the relationship disrespects you, the love commitment has been broken. The trust has been broken. That agreement is no longer valid, does not stand anymore. You're not meant to be a martyr. I keep saying this so many times. You're not meant to be a martyr. Right? I'm not religious, but if you're religious, your God or whatever you believe in wants you to live your best life, not for you to be a martyr. Okay. And you do yourself a favor, and you do your abusive partner a favor by not supplying the thing that makes him the abuser over and over, or her the abuser over and over. So remove, let's take if you're an alcoholic, right? If you have an alcohol addiction, the way you help the alcoholic person is by removing the alcohol. So the way you help an abuser is you remove the person that they abuse, so they can't be abusive if the victim is not there. It's the same thing. So yeah, that's my that's how I see it. That's how I see it. That's my insight on that. So yeah, hoovering, really, really pay attention. If you're not sure, if you're in that kind of situation, or you find yourself in that situation at some point, or you see someone in that situation, the way you recognize it is to look at the pattern. There's always a pattern, right? You do see the pattern. So pay attention to that. You're worth more. You're not meant to be a victim. Yeah. This value yourself enough.
Self-respect.
Yeah. So on that, we are going to we're going to finish here for this topic. In the next episode, we are going to talk about trauma bonding, because it is kind of part of this. It does tie into this topic. So we're going to talk about how what trauma bonding is and how it connects with the hoovering. So make sure you catch us on the next episode as well. Thank you so much, Charmaine, for your for your insights on this.
Thank you, Francesca, for having me.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.